NASCAR is going to take a serious look at increasing horsepower, plus Chicago residents, they're upset with NASCAR again. Welcome back to Break Hard. I'm Matt. Yes, that is a full-size window into my shower behind me here. I don't get it. I get it. I completely get it. I understand it. I guess the idea is to be able to look out at the beautiful view that you guys can't see, which is fine. I can respect it. I think it's probably used for some other reasons as well. Still weird. Also, stop with the barn door trend on bathrooms, hotels. It's stupid. Knock it off. Now, let's get into what we want to talk about today. And we're going to start off with NASCAR potentially exploring increasing horsepower. So everybody talks about all the time, right? We need to go up to 900 horsepower. We need to go up to 1,000 horsepower. And every time we hear the same excuse every single time, it's going to cost too much money. Well, now NASCAR on the Hauler Talk podcast this week said that they're going to take a serious look at increasing the horsepower from basically 650, 670 horsepower where the teams are currently at up to 750 horsepower. I know I know the comments that are going to come. I know the complaints that are going to come. We need to get to 900. We need to get to 1,000. I agree with you, but just like the song says, you can't always get what you want. And in this situation, we're not going to get what we want, at least not right now. But if they're going to give us a little bit, beggars can't be choosers here. So we're going to go ahead and take that. Also, the beggars can't be choosers subreddit or whatever it's called, wild time if you get on there. There are some delusional people out there. But when it comes to horsepower here, 750, listen, that's where we're at the end with the Gen 6 car, right? This engine formula can absolutely sustain it, and it can do it really, really simply. Basically, we're just going to take off the tapered spacer, and other than that, things should be pretty okay based on what all the engine builders have said. Now, if only there was a non-points paying event that's coming up in about a week and a half's time where they could really trial this out without it, really affecting anything. If only there was an event like that happening just, towards the end of May, maybe the weekend before Memorial Day weekend. I'm just saying, if something like that existed, this would be the perfect place to try that out at. And hopefully they do increase it. On the Hauler Talk podcast, they talked about this because, drivers have been talking about it, industry people have been talking about it, and they have one of their NASCAR driver meetings coming up, something they seem to do monthly. And they talk about a number of different things, whether it be safety initiatives or ways to, increase competition or kind of change the way NASCAR is doing things. Drivers are there to give their feedback, and obviously horsepower is one of the things we keep hearing. Now, is 750 horsepower going to be the fix-all for everything? The panacea, to use Steve Phelps' term, with the Gen 7 car? No, 750 is not going to probably be the fix-all, but is it going to help? Yeah, I definitely think it's going to help. And I always go back to the first test they did with the Gen 7 car at Charlotte with all the teams, and they were testing out 550 horsepower package. Everybody remembers that, right? It was a carryover from the NA18D package of the Gen 6 era, which I think we can all agree on was not good. Despite what Pete Pistone says, there was a lot of us out here after watching the first attempt they did at the All-Star race was like, we don't need this. And granted, there were some fans that were like, oh, this is some of the best racing we've ever seen. And guess what? It was not some of the best racing we've ever seen. So they tested it with 550. Nobody could pass. Everybody's just falling around each other because you're going so slow, especially with how draggy this car is. Well, then I think it was Harvick's team came in and changed the tapered spacer out, went up to 650, 670, somewhere in that range. And wow, this car really came to life. It, in fact, was the panacea that Steve Phelps mentioned because it fixed racing on intermediates. Now, granted, we've also now declined on short tracks and super speedways, but it fixed one of the main problems of the Gen 6 car. So now I go back to that and I'm like, okay, if we increased it by about 100, 120 horsepower there, what happens if we increase it by another 100 horsepower to 750? In theory, the racing should just get better, right? It should be more entertaining. It should be better than what we've had. So hopefully we get to try that out. Obviously, it's not going to go up to 1,000, go up to 900. They mentioned on the Hauler Talk podcast that that's not even on the table because it comes down to costs. And to kind of piggyback on what Jeff Gluck said, when it comes to the topic of cost and everybody talking about that, I'm so tired of it. I get it. I completely understand the economics of the sport and, some of the mountains these teams are trying to climb. 100% understand it. But this is big time auto racing. It's expensive. It's inherently expensive. Nobody's ever gone racing because it was cheap, because it was a really good return on investment, right? Obviously, you should be able to try to break even. I completely understand that. Maybe make a couple bucks here and there. At the same time, stock car racing is not cheap. Racing in general isn't cheap. So I'm tired of hearing about the whole cost side of things here. We'll see how all of it plays out going forward. But for now, at least they're looking at increasing it a little bit. And I think that's a win for everybody. Once again, Chicago fans are upset with NASCAR. Now, I'm as shocked as you all are, about as shocked as I am that the Chicago White Sox are still one of the worst teams in baseball. But I wish they had the same amount of passion when it comes to that horrible pizza product they continue to tout as being really good pizza. It is not. I do stand by the fact that Chicago hot dogs are absolutely incredible, and I will continue to make them because I got hooked on them last summer. Love that city, don't care for the pizza. But when it comes to the Chicago street race, a lot of the residents of the South Loop area, not fans of NASCAR whatsoever. So there was a meeting between residents, some officials from NASCAR. Julie Geis, I believe, was there, the president of the NASCAR Chicago street race, and the police department there in Chicago. And a lot of residents are, once again, upset about how long the roads will be closed around that Grant Park area. And it's 25 days. That's what it's going to be this year, is 25 days. And as the CBS affiliate in Chicago pointed out, for only 2 days of racing. Well, yeah, that's typically how it works. And if you've been to the Chicago street race or a street race in general, there's a whole lot of infrastructure that goes into putting this race on, especially in a place like Chicago. St. Pete's a little bit different, part of the airport and everything like that. It's not as disruptive. Long Beach, pretty disruptive. Chicago, pretty disruptive. But the fact that they're down to 25 days from, I believe, like 43 days the first year of this is really impressive. So a lot of the residents are upset about the traffic concerns around there. And I get it, right? Like if somebody was to do something in front of my house in my neighborhood and they were like, oh, hey, you're not going to be able to access your street for 25 days. I'd be like, dang, that's not fun. I hate that a lot, actually, if it wasn't like a public works project or something like that. So I understand it. At the same time, though, if you're going to move to the downtown area of a major city in the United States next to one of the biggest parks that they have to offer, you have to assume that there's going to be big events that happen there, especially if the park has hosted Lollapalooza for a countless number of years at this point. Road closures happen. There's going to be a lot of people around. Things like that are going to go on. Now, I get it, right? NASCAR comes to town, and it's a substantial disruption for a couple of days. But I was there last year. The road is still open to drive down pre-race before the race weekend starts, and then it's cleared up on Monday morning when I left. It was like, oh, okay, everybody can just continue on. So realistically, like that Michigan Avenue area, I believe is what it is, that runs down into that half loop area. Columbus Circle? I don't know what it's called. I don't know. I don't live there. But that area right there, you can still drive down that on Friday even up until the race day, and then it's closed down for 2 days. Annoying, sure, but life-altering, not really. One resident said that he just wishes it was somewhere else, which is like the most NIMBY, not in my backyard thing that you could ever say. Listen, I'm sure it's great. I just don't want it around me. I don't care for it that much. And again, I just go back to the fact that you are living in a major city next to one of the biggest parks that they have, if not the biggest park that they have. There's going to be events. There's going to be disruptions. There's going to be things like that. Now, it is worth noting that Julie Geis, I believe that's how you pronounce her name, apologies if it's not, said that they're working at getting better at this, the setup side of things. And I would argue that they definitely have. They've trimmed nearly like 20 days off of it since the first year, and we're only in year number 3. When asked if this is going to return for 2026, she said, we're not discussing that yet. We haven't discussed that yet. There are options, of course, and that is true. There are options built into this contract. I believe there are 2 options year to year for 2027 and 2028 that are built into the original 3-year deal, which will end after this year. Those options, I believe, have to be picked up in conjunction between both NASCAR and the city. If one doesn't want to do it, then it doesn't get done. We'll see how that goes. I don't think that the city of Chicago is going to pick it up. I don't think that their new mayor, Brandon Johnson, who took over for Mayor Lori Lightfoot, who pushed this deal through, I don't think he's the biggest fan of this. Does it bring a lot of tourism? Does it bring a lot of people, a lot of money? Yeah, it absolutely does. But does it fit the image of Chicago that they're trying to curate? I don't know. I don't know if it necessarily does or not. Regardless, I absolutely love this event. I loved it a lot last year. I will be back there once again this year. If you haven't gone, I implore you to go. If you're not doing anything else that 4th of July weekend, it's super fun. Chicago in the summertime is great. You can stay right across the street from the racetrack for a pretty reasonable amount of money. You literally walk across in the morning, you're in the racetrack. You leave the track at night, you walk right back into your hotel. No sitting in traffic, no having to worry about anything like that. It was a super great experience. The whole track layout, the whole the ambiance, the campus, everything that they've laid out, whatever you want to refer to it as, was really, really well done. Obviously, I know I have a bit of a different experience just because I have passes and everything to kind of go wherever you want. But it's still a really enjoyable time. And I considered buying grandstand tickets as well this year just because I enjoyed it so much last year. So if you haven't gone, I definitely think it's worth going, especially if this is going to be the last one. I think it's something that you should see in person. Seeing stock cars race with the city of Chicago as the backdrop is one of those more surreal experiences where I was like, I never thought I would see something like this happen. So overall, really enjoyed the experience there. I know it's annoying for the residents, but I like this event a lot. Wherever the next street race is, I'll absolutely catch a flight there and check it out. But for now, the residents of Chicago, not the biggest fans of it whatsoever. So I don't necessarily have a third topic to end the day off here, but I will say if you're a Chase Elliott fan and you're going to the Pocono weekend next month in June, I would maybe buy tickets to the Xfinity race as well. Just saying. I would probably do that if you would like to see him race twice in one weekend. So let me know in the comments what you think about NASCAR potentially increasing horsepower, even though it's just a little bit. The Chicago street race concerns, once again, from the residents. Like and subscribe to the channel. Follow me on TikTok @BreakHard, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook @BreakHardBlog.